Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. The third session will be taken on generative AI in industry. We welcome the speaker, Mr. Rudra Tripathy. Over to you, Alina, who will give the introduction for the speaker. Hello, Alina.
Me, Mr. Rudra Tripathy, the director at Capgemeni, Bangalore, India, an enterprise architect in travel logistics. Mr. Tripathy is a key player in blending technology and industry to create innovative solutions. He has extensive knowledge of generative AI and will be sharing his insights on practical applications in the industry. Welcome, sir.
Over to you, sir.
Just a minute. Okay, I'm giving. Am I
Sure,
audible?
sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. So let me share the screen. Then sir will start. Screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I'm giving to the speaker.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. I am Rudra and thanks for my good introduction. So before starting the slide deck, let me try to understand, I understand that, it's now a very emerging topic, generative AI, one of those, very focused area of data and analytics. So how many have you heard about generative AI and have overall idea on generative AI? So it will help me, to set up the context and to the level of details we need to go. Okay, so let me ask you, how many of you ever never heard about generative AI or hearing for first time?
Audible?
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, let me see. So let me try to divide this section into 3 sessions. First we'll go to some basics of generative AI and its history. And from the industry side, when it has been started and how it is going on and what would be the future perspective. Is my screen visible? Can you able to see?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Actually, generative AI or that, the variant of the generative AI, the large language model, it has been there for quite some time, at least around 3 to 4 years. In industrial research, and there are many research teams who have been working on this. So if we'll see this whole timeline of AI, right, and we can see that, right, starting from 2000, 2005, right, the speech processing, then we have handwriting processing, correct, and we can see the growth, correct, and the maturity, right, and around 2025, around 2030, so it is mentioned 25, but in 2 to 5 years, correct, in 2 to 5 years, generative AI would be very powerful tool and it would be replacing or it would be number one or most usage stream of artificial intelligence, right? So that would be the reason why we are talking and why there is a very future in near term. It's already arrived, in fact. A lot of work has been going in parallel. So that is the reason why we are talking about generative AI now. So whether you are planning to go to industry, correct, doing some some sample project or some kind of a startup project or research, it is going to be the number one area in terms of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, what is generative AI? Correct. Now you can see the basic definition. So there are many definitions, more or less similar. So you can see the basic definition. A set of machine learning technique, correct? So generative AI, if you see, it is a machine learning technique. So it is nothing different. It is a machine learning technique, correct? Which enable computers. So when we talk about computers, it is computing or application, right? To generate new data. Now this is a, this is a breakthrough, right? Generate new data. Till now, the machine learning applications, whatever we are, we can argue that it is also generating. But the whole system, it is not generating the data, but it is inferring the data. Correct? Based on the inference, it is either doing some kind of a decision, right? It is doing classification, it is doing categorization, it is doing some activities, but it is not generating new data. Now, generative AI models or generative AI machine learning technique has the capability to generate the new data, correct? Now, so we can argue, right, if it's generating a new data, then what is the input? So it is still based on the existing input. So what does it exactly mean? It means that garbage in, garbage out, correct? So still it follows all the regular best practices of data engineering, all the regular best practices of machine learning, correct? Still all those stuff should remain constant. Saying so, what I mean to say, whoever would have gone through machine learning, so all those knowledges should be reusable. It is a new technique. Of course, we need to know new areas, right? Explore new areas, explore capabilities. But all existing classic machine learning techniques in terms of data engineering, in terms of data quality, correct? In terms of machine learning operations, right? Machine learning pipelines. So those things would be more or less similar. Any question here? Okay, so now just to extend the same sentence, can be used to create anything from image, music to text and even 3D models. So you can see the images and music. So it is also text, correct? So it can create from text, images, music, video, correct? So it can create from them and the output would be, text or 3D models. So this is the basic understanding of generative AI. So basically it is a machine learning technique. We generate from text, images, videos to text, images, videos like that. And it is a new machine learning technique. Now application. Now here you can see that, correct? Now image creation, correct? So there are many applications are there. I have just selected this crayon. So we can go to this crayon application. So Crayon is one of those generative AI based application, and we are just going to there. So here you can see, right? So this application is capable of, let me type, art, drawing, correct? Photos, right? So it is enable of doing that. Let me type monkey here. Wait. Now it is trying to create the drawing. So similar, there are a lot of APIs, Python libraries are available. So this is easy and anyone can try for the first-hand experience. So it is trying to generate a drawing. You can see, right? It generated so many picture, correct? See, it is wearing black glasses, correct? So it is a text to image example, correct? So similar, there are many applications like eDaily is there, eDaily is there. Now the same thing. Now we can do. We selected the art, correct? Now let's select this drawing. Let's select photo, correct? Draw. So whatever we are typing, it is called as prompt. So there is another parallel substream of generative AI. It is called prompt engineering. I have not covered due to the limitation of the time, but prompt and generative AI goes hand in hand. So I'm prompting here, correct? So, but prompt, so you can see this, right? Now it is different, correct? Similarly, like so on and so forth, we can create different images, right? So there are many other applications that are available like eDolly and stuff like that, correct? Where we can play with the video, correct? So there will be like more artistic, correct? So basic art, we can always use, correct? Artists can be more innovative, correct? So they can create basic art. And in the digital art world, correct, it could be a huge impact, right? So this is one of those example of, generative AI, correct? Similarly, generation of text, correct? So the generation of text, we can generate text. So OpenChat is a very classic framework for generating the text. Let me open AI offline mode. এটা উপরে সাথে পড়ে আসছে খুলছে চ্যাট জিপিটি so okay, I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
So ChatGPT actually made this generative AI more famous. Correct. So let me try to generate some text. Let me say that leave application due to sickness. Correct. Now I am trying to generate some text for leave application. Correct. So you can see that, right? It is generating that application for me. Correct. And it is the text. Correct. So doing the ChatGPT, we can do many things, right? So this is one of that example of ChatGPT, right? So let me ask to copy this thing. Correct? You guys can see this, right? It is suggesting what could be my, application. Correct? It is putting all these addresses. All right. Let me get another one example of text generation is your document summary. Let us get some Google News. This is not a correct example. The American ramped up holiday. Let's get this news. I just picked up it in a random way. Let me copy paste all this news content. Right. Let me go to OpenAI. Correct. Let me type something like title of. I put all this content and I type the title of this content. Correct. You can see that heading, correct? Resilient holiday shopping season. Americans maintain spending, correct? So this is the summary of this particular content, correct? So the reason I'm telling, so there are a lot of content creator, a lot of content curator, correct? So all this content industry to the text, right? So that ad, correct? So it is going to be impacted. Let me put some different keyword, summary. So there is a technical word for this text processing. It is called as document summarization. You can see this, right? So it just put the summary of this one. And anyone can give in that our industry also, we have a lot of search, correct? So we have a lot of enterprise document, correct? So we have different files in different format, correct? Now earlier we used to have a search mechanism, correct? So there used to be different search application which create reverse indexing, correct? And it maintains the index, correct? It goes and it then the search that different document, correct? So this is another example, correct, where that research is happening or where we can build application without those search platform like Google. So the challenges with those search platforms are there. It is a little bit heavy to maintain. So let's say I added a new text, correct, new document to that particular list, correct, to the particular database or document database. Then it will update all the indexes, correct. So those kind of things are now not required, correct? So using the generative AI, we have the summary. It can glance through the summary, it can generate the summary, and it can add that. So it would be like in that end of the day, So generative AI is very well, very much impacting the search application or search related technology, correct? Where it is making it more easy. So search related industry, search related technologies are also getting impacted by generative AI. Okay, similarly, generation of videos. So as we see in the cyclone, I'm not going back to that. So we can give some text and it would generate the video and it would generate the audio also, right? So nowadays in many of those advertisement or many of the content, educational content, people are not doing that for video audio. So the audio is automatically generated from the text. So there are existing machine learning techniques are already there. Text to speech technique is already there. But in the generative AI, it would be more innovative. It can build more context. And it is also replacing all those existing techniques or challenging that. Generation of code, correct? It is another interesting topic. So let me say that. So let me type example of HTTP connection. So HTTP connection, is a traditional way when I want to connect to another application through HTTP protocol. Now you can see this, right? It created HTTP connection using Python, right? Similarly, if I type connection in Java, right? Whatever I'm typing here, it is easy to see that. So the chat GPT model, right, and the APIs, it is doing the same job in the backend. So they have actually stopped all those licenses, personal licenses. So that's why I'm not able to show the code, but it will do the similar activity. Now you can see that it generated the code for me also, right? So it generated the code for the HTTP connection, right? It created the Java class just to tell whoever is not acquainted with Java. So it generated a new Java class. It generated a method, correct? It added corresponding, you can see that HTTP URL connection. It is a very popular way of creating the connection object, right? So it generated the connection object. So basically it created the whole code, right? So this particular code, maybe a developer would have taken at least around 2 to 3 hours to write this particular code, correct? So, but ChatGPT created it in few minutes, right? So similarly, that coding has got a lot of implementation. So there are code whispers, correct? So it is doing the debugging, it is doing the bug fixes, right? It is doing automatic code suggestion, code filling, right? So there are a lot of applications, correct? Which is there is a co-pilot in for Azure and Microsoft. There's a co-pilot, correct? So all these applications are doing and making it easier for the coders, for the developer. So the development is becoming fast, and all these tools are being used inbuilt generative AI. So the underlying technology is generative AI. Any question here? Anything? Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, sir. So now with all these cutting edge technologies, like now you see AI and generative AI in particular, we're now at a level where AI is writing the code, right? So as a computer science student who aspires to specialize in any of these fields, or even on the other side of software development with interests in artificial intelligence. So, what can I do to fit in the industry? Because what I can do as a person, AI can also do it. So, what exactly should we do so that we are not replaced? What should we focus on learning to fit in?
It is a very good question. So there would be definitely it is going to impact the regular developer activity. It is going to impact most of the current computer industry streams. What we can do, still we are human beings, right? I still feel we are sometime we generate all this code, correct? So our learning would be more higher side. So for example, how I can optimize this code, correct? Now it is suggesting this specific class. Is there any other class which is performance wise better, correct? So as a computer science engineer, in fact, we have a better chance as compared to other streams or anyone who is learning. So our learning knowledge, we have to acquire more deep knowledge, because here we are competing right now. Earlier, the code generation is not that impactful. What I mean to say, it is generated like last 10 years I've been there. There are a lot of code generation tools are there, but it is not that impactful. So right now with generative AI, we need to build more in-depth knowledges of different computer science knowledge, or complicated computer science applications like computer vision, or different medical line, correct, banking. So our knowledge need to be more, and it will help in doing faster way. So maybe whatever we are doing in 10 days, right, that will come down to 1 day. Still we need people, correct, but the effort would be reduced. But it is definitely a challenge. I think that discussion is still going on. Just to answer you, there is no need to lose hope, but we need to deepen our knowledge, and we need to have more domain knowledge, correct, such that we won't be replaced by just regular codings. That would be the future. That would be the future for anyone who is interested in technology life. I hope it answered my point.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay, so these are few areas. It is not exclusive, so there are a lot of other areas where it could be applicable. But you can see that pretty much it covers most of the current industry, right? It covers the banking. So banking, it is little bit still challenging, because in the banking we have numbers, correct? So large language model does not work so well with numbers as compared to normal NLP language, correct? But still, these are their fraud detection, correct? Most of the automation processes in banking, correct? So those things are automated tasks. So those things are now done very fast way using generative AI. Retail. So retail, as I showed you, right? E-commerce, whether creating any picture design in the e-commerce, right? Better user experience, better backend knowledge, forecasting. So all these things is also like could be potentially replaced by generative AI. All these are still different existing traditional applications are there where generative AI still could be used. Similarly, telecom, right? Similarly, healthcare. Healthcare is an area where the lot of analytics are still not very popularly used, and your data privacy, right? Responsible AI, AI ethics. So all these things should be very much applicable to healthcare. So healthcare would be another area, where generative AI is impactful, and there could be a lot of potential applications, and research could be done. Manufacturing, as we say, we have the 3D models right now. AR, VR is there in the manufacturing, remote manufacturing, where the manufacturing command center would be at a different place, right? There are different robotic machines are there, which is commanded, correct? Now we have all these 3D printers are already there in the existing. So using generative AI, we can make 3D printer more effective, because generative AI can generate that 3D models, correct? So pretty much you can see most of the areas it is there. And right now we have traditional application. Maybe as a engineers, there would be another 5 to 10 years, the work would be there to replace the existing application with generative AI applications. Build it, to test it, to validate, and sometime, doing certain coding. Okay, so coming back to here, the generative AI categories. So these are the different categories of the generative AI. So many of them we covered. So there is a image to text, text to image. So we can feed a text and we can ask it could generate it could create the description about the text, image, right? Similarly, text to 3D. So we discussed about that. So using the text, we can create different 3D models. Then we have text to video. Correct, we have just seen that. So we can put the text, it will generate the audio form of the particular text, and it would generate the video from the text. Text to text, we have just seen, right, that document summary or title of the particular document, correct? So it is a text to text. The input is text and the output is also text. Similarly, text to code. So we have seen the example of text to code. So where we type something and it generated the code for us. Text to science. So text to science is also interesting topic where it can generate the mathematical formulas by giving this input. So this is another application for text to science. Sorry, got closed by mistake. So here you can see there's some examples, correct? It's already generated. So the question is that, this is a question about the line, correct? It's a mathematical question, right? Quantitative analytics, correct? And it is solving that mathematical problem, correct? So you can see that it is solving this problem, correct? So it is a line and it is the slope of the line and there is a mathematical formula and it is solving this formula, correct? So similarly, we can use generative AI to drug discoveries. There are different mathematical analytical formulas are there or mathematical model is there, right? So it will help us in generating the mathematical model, analyzing the mathematical model, correct? So it will help in those areas. So coming back here, so this is a basic architecture of the generative AI, correct? So generative AI portal. So portal is that UI end, correct? So still we need some kind of a UI designing, right? And development of the UI. Then you can see that orchestration layer. So anyway, this orchestration layer would be required irrespective of the generative AI. It could be the machine learning layer, it is the ML ops layer, correct? And here you can see the model hub, correct? Where we can keep the model. So there are many open source model hubs are there, like Hugging Faces, correct? So, and what we can do, like you can see in the bottom. So I'm going to the bottom here. You can see the APIs, correct? So we have application programming interfaces, REST APIs, correct, where we can consume and publish the data. We have the databases, right? We have different applications, correct? We have different devices, mobile devices, right? Or network devices which are generating the data, correct? So this is the traditional data platform, right? So here you can see the pre-trained custom, right? So it could be open source, it could be free, correct? So we can already have a different pre-trained models are available like ChatGPT 3.5, correct? Similarly, most of the cloud platforms like Amazon or Azure of Microsoft, Google, correct? So they already IBM, already they have some pre-trained model, correct? Even the ChatGPT model is whatever that we have seen, correct? ChatGPT model is already pre-trained with lot of Wikipedia input, right? Lot of different input, correct? So still it follows the same basic of machine learning technique, correct? So we already have a pre-trained model, correct? Then based on the context and our requirement, correct? So we can download that pre-trained model to our private areas, right? Because in the industry, for example, in the chat GPT, any code if I put, correct, that particular code will become public, right? So as an enterprise, I don't want my code to be public, right? So I need security. I need, data security. I need application security. I need correct authorization, authentication, correct? All those things would be required, correct? And it makes the thing complicated. So what we can do, we can have a chat GPT. So for example, chat GPT has its own enterprise model available, correct? So for example, any company who wants to do generative AI, it will purchase that chat GPT model, correct? Chat GPT is available in Azure also, correct? So the Azure subscription, cloud subscription is already available, correct? So you can have the pre-trained model. So here you can see the pre-trained model. Once you have the pre-trained model, correct? Then what we can do, we can then do the knowledge model, correct? So in the knowledge model, we can train our particular enterprise data, right? The example I have given you search, correct? So in the search, I can still use a chat GPT pre-trained model. I can still use ChatGPT pre-trained model. Using the ChatGPT pre-trained model, I will put all my data, right? All my documents, correct? And based on that, I will build my own document summary. So I will pre-train, I will try to refine it, correct? I will give you a simple example how it impacts. So let me give you, so I was working for one of that company building a chatbot for them. And we have lot of order related data. And that particular model, what we are using for chatbot, it is trained in Azure US data. So it is trained with US vehicle data set and most of the data set. Now, in a funny way, we have a order number. We start with two letters, correct? And then the number, right? It's alphanumeric, starting with two letter and then number. Typically in US, if a like letter is there, then the number is following. They used to have a hyphen, correct? So whenever I am trying to apply that Azure NLP model, it is always adding a hyphen there. Okay, then I have to do some kind of a post processing to replace. The reason I am telling you, it's not that the pre-trained model, whatever is available, it will fit to the enterprise use cases, the general use cases, whatever I have shown you. So for that, it may be like making sense. But there are a lot of complicated enterprise applications should be there where we need to train with our data, correct, to make some adjustment to the particular model. And once we like train that particular model, we'll start publishing. So we'll follow the same path of training, testing, and publishing a new version, right? Unless we are satisfied, correct? Now, if I want to build a chatbot, correct, using the generative AI, what I should do? I'll put all my data set, correct. Here you can see the data platform. I will put all my data set. I will use I will use, like ChatGPT enterprise model. I will train my data set, right, on the top of the ChatGPT model. And once I trained, I will deploy, I will create a new version for the ChatGPT model, which would be my company hyphen ChatGPT model. Then I will store it in some repository, model repository of Azure ML Ops or AWS, depending on the cloud platform, or maybe private repository, correct? I will keep that model and I will keep on following that, like train, test, and improve the particular model, right? So that is how, like this whole generative AI work. And in the right hand side, you can see the policies, correct? Policies play a very important role, as I mentioned, right? Since ChatGPT is all generating that document, correct? We have to be very careful. Like, for example, in the healthcare, that particular patient's details should not be revealed, correct? And all those related activities, right? PI information, credit card information should not be leaked in the bank, correct? So all the challenges are there, right? So defining the policy, how we can do that, correct? Then model control, of course, how your model is behaving, the whether your model is responsible, correct? Because the generative AI always follow with lot of your ethics, AI ethics, right? So it is whether it is following the AI ethics, whether the model is biased or not, right? So all these activities would be there. Usage controls. Similarly, like how I am planning to use my generative model, correct? What kind of document what kind of images it is allowed to create, correct? What kind of videos it is allowed to create, correct? Leakage testing. So the testing is again important aspect, correct? Any kind of leakage is there, correct? Any kind of deviation is there. So testing become a very important aspect in generative AI. Trusted data. So as the name suggests, as I mentioned earlier, correct? Still the data engineering best practices will hold, correct? And we have to make sure that the data, whatever we are feeding, it has having the proper context, correct? Proper data set for that. Any question? It is one of the important slide, correct? And you can see the layers, right? Data layer, model layer, and business layer here. Okay. So this is that example what I was,
Hello, sir.
right? The query-based summarization. It's another example what I already demonstrated, correct? So it could generate the query, right? Like I type title, I type summary, correct? And we can get a quick references, correct? Let's say we have a it can be used by a lawyer also, correct? Second point you can see, it is also like it can in fact hugely impact the legal industry. Because in the legal industry, the references are very important, correct? And experience of lawyer depends on the how many cases he solved, correct? How many law he can refer, right? Specific legal points, correct? Paper thesis, right? We can even in the academic we can publish the thesis, correct? Writing literature, correct? Bibliography, correct? So all these areas you can see the area of research how getting impacted through generative AI. So almost we are done.
Excuse me, sir. Good afternoon. Sir, actually, in the starting, I was using the Chat GPT and the Bard AI. Sir, it is sometimes do some wrong calculation and some wrong mistakes. So how does the model then correct it?
That is what I mentioned, right? That is why the trusted data, correct? So
Yes,
whenever,
sir.
right, and the context, correct, and the testing, right? So these three things are important. Any model in that case, not only ChatGPT, that model does not guarantee it is 100%, correct? So if you go to the fundamental of AI, it is not 100%, correct? It's based on the data and inference, right? Even in our traditional machine learning. So what we need to identify why it gave that wrong data. So potentially what I have seen, right? I will show you an interesting thing, right? Let
Yes,
me
sir.
go to that specific application, correct? What I showed you.
Minerva. Yes, sir.
Not Enilpa. In that where we are doing the image fusion, correct?
Yes, sir.
So I replaced spectacles with glass, correct? And glass
Yes.
is a very common usage, right? But
Yes, sir.
it will understand it in a different way. Okay. Even in ChatGPT, so I will give you a classic example. Recently, I was trying to do some kind of a technical upgradation. So I was telling, right, in existing application would be replaced. So let's say we have many application which is already built in using Java 1.5, correct? Now we
Yes,
are
sir.
getting to Java 11, correct? So lot of codes are there, correct? Can I replace that? So I was typing, I put a
Yes.
for loop, correct? I put a for loop.
Yes, sir.
Let's say for loop in Java 1.5. Let me show you some small demonstration. It is a for loop, correct?
It is a for loop. Yes, sir.
If I say just remember that this chat GPT is trained through whole GitHub code. Okay. So
Yes,
it
sir.
is coded with all those, open source repository. So it is trained with Java, it is trained with Python, correct?
Yes, sir.
If I come down, where it is. You see, right?
Yes, sir.
You can see this
List
list.
for each string.
It converted it to for each, correct? So what
Yes, sir.
especially I was doing maybe 1 month, 2 months before, correct? So this code was not doing that. So now it is trained actually.
Yes, sir. It is getting feedback, I think, sir. The trust code, it is getting feedback and it is improving itself day by day.
Day by day, right? But
Yes.
if I type that time what I used to do, that's why the prompt engineering is very important. So that time whenever I was typing with Java 11 for loop template, correct? Then it was giving for each. So it understands that, it wants that basic. The reason why it is not giving, because in Java 11 still we can write the traditional for loop, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. So it is nothing wrong in that. So what you are mentioning, that is correct. But then we need to train that, right? The example I have also given you, correct? It is adding
Yes.
a hyphen, correct? Because the model is trained that, any alpha number, any literal number is there and numeric should be, separated by a hyphen or separated by something, correct?
Yes,
Right.
sir.
That is how the traditional American system works, basically. Most of their number system work in that way, correct? Their
Yes.
telephone number or everything like that. So if whenever I am putting it, it is giving wrong input, correct? But the wrong input is based on the training, correct?
Yes,
So
sir.
what the natural thing I will do, I will give the training with all my order, correct? And I
Yes,
will
sir.
type, right? Give me the order number, give me the order number, right? So the error
Yes.
function would minimize, correct? So similarly, next time whenever I will feed with the order number, it will recognize that, this is also a like whole number, right? It is not hyphen is not required here, correct? So
Yes,
that
sir.
context, right? That context is the important.
Thank you very much, sir.
Let me give a small demo like that. It will answer that specific question, right? Someone asked what as a computer engineer will do. It's a very valid question. I like that important question. Let me show you. Still, we need programming. So whatever I have shown you, right? So as a basic thing, it is not that important, correct? but it is not a scale, right? Whenever we are doing for scaling, right? So for example, technical upgrade. In our application, there are 100 applications are there. So there are millions lines of code is there. Correct? So I cannot simply type and put it, right? It will take more time. So let me, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to see Azure? You are seeing Azure, right? Not ChatGPT. Correct?
No, sir, we are seeing ChatGPT.
You are still seeing ChatGPT?
Yes, sir.
Let me stop and share that again. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is basically a medical health, right? For a particular patient, it is suggesting the drug. Okay, so you can see the health example, correct? It is authenticating the client, correct? And it is doing this search, correct? And if I run it, you can see this, it is generating this output, correct? It is saying that, the dosage is 50 milligram, correct? So you can see that the dosage is 50 milligram, right? So for this, what I have done, I have integrated with Azure Search. So there's a setup I have done. I have tried using the OpenAI Studio also. So I have done this setup, correct? So it is a basic example of the Azure Search, right? So in the Azure Data Search, all those patients' health details are there, okay? And here you can see the code, correct? And there is a Python SDK is there. And for that, what library I have used, you guys can see this. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
So you can see that I've used Azure AI Text Analytics. Correct. So these are all basic Azure core. Credential is for authentication. I have used Azure AI Machine Learning Library. Right. I have used Azure Storage, that is for storing the database, so on and so forth. So here, let's go through this example. I hope most of you are acquainted with Python. Correct. So I will explain you this code. So here you can see this. I have put the API key and endpoint, correct? So this is the endpoint of the Azure. So I am using Azure Cognitive Service. You can see this. US Cognitive Service Azure.com, correct? So it is actually Azure AI Search, correct? Which is internally it's using the generative AI. So let me go to that Azure search also. Let me show you that. Let me stop my screen. Let me find out the document. So I'm using two machines here, so that's creating a little bit of problem. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
These are 3-4 workspaces I created using the Azure. So similarly, there are different products are there in the AWS. Okay, so I created this particular, you can see this Azure Machine Learning workspace, correct? So you can see it is like I created this workspace, and once it's a pay as you go, you can see all these things are there, right? So this is my machine learning workspace, correct? Similarly, I created this language, correct? This language is nothing but this is a language grouping, correct? So here you can see this. This is my language resource group is same. So it is for processing, and the language modeling, correct? Azure language model, correct? So here you can see this language service, correct? So it is Azure AI service for language, enable you to build app suite, industry leading natural language understanding, correct? So here I am building this language processing, correct? So I have that, if you come here, I created that, be a little bit careful, correct? It will cost you the money. So here I have selected the free tier actually. So if you'll see this, so whenever I create, let me try to create one. This Azure OpenAI is actually disabled. Now they are not giving the service. So I have done many samples using the Azure OpenAI. So that is the challenge what we found today. So you can see this. I have come to the language service. Just to give you anyone new to the cloud platform, in the cloud platform, whenever we log in, so everything is called as a resource, correct? Or as a service. So for that language service, it is part of the Azure AI service, correct? And let me try to create a service. So you can see the options here, correct? And you can see the left-hand side. This is very important, correct? You can see the default features available, correct? Sentiment analysis is already available, correct? Key phrase extraction, correct? So it will do the phrase extraction, correct? Question answering, right? Question answering is FAQs is a very important thing in the chatbot, correct? So whenever we build application like chatbot, right? So or Alexa, correct? Using the Alexa, right? So all this question answer internally has got lot of flow, right? So I have built one normal using cognitive service, correct? NLP service. Now, whenever we put the question, right, we can change different words also for asking the same question, correct? So typically what we used to do, we used to feed 10 or 20 different questions, correct? Which the meaning is same, right? The meaning is same, but we need to train it, right? So for example, what is the status of the order? What is my current status of the order, right? Where is my order, correct? So all these questions are same, right? If I've ordered something, I want to know where is my order, correct? So I may not directly put that what status, correct? So here using this generative AI, since it is already trained in the large language model, so these things should be easy. Then name entity recognition, correct? Text summarization, right? Text analytics for health, correct? So all these features are already built in this Azure AI service for language. So you have to create a Azure account first. And another important thing is that, this particular service is not available in all the regions. So for example, I am from India, so I was trying India. It was not available with South India. I selected to win the super side in the US. But as we all know, the pricing would be different. So here you can see this. A different pricing tier, correct? So then this is a very important thing. Then we can go and create this particular service, right? So I'm not creating that because I already created. So once I create the service, the cost will come per hour like that. Any question here related to the AI service, Azure AI service? And you guys can go and find details, right? There are very beautiful documentation is there. So the reason I selected Azure document is a little bit simple to read, and it is very extensive. So we can find a lot of documentation there. So the similar thing in AWS is SageMaker. So anyone would have booked on AWS machine learning would have heard about SageMaker. So the SageMaker is the similar thing. Now coming back, right, previous slide. So once I create my service, correct. So I come here, right, and I have keys here. You can see the keys. It is giving me the endpoint also, correct. So I have given this name US-LAN, correct. So it is appended here to make it unique, right. So this is the whole setup we need to do that. Then this example is a Python client library, and I have also all those built-in Python modules what I have installed. Correct. Let's go to the code. So here you can see the libraries import, correct. You can see the authorization, right. So I have put all this key and endpoint, I have put it here, correct. So you can see the key is there, correct. So using the key, it is authenticating with Azure key credential function, right. So it is authenticating this, right. Then I have text analytics client. So just to tell you here, it is not a good idea to hard code. For a demo, I just put it. So these values we should set as an environment variable, and we should access such an environment variable from the code. So here you can see this, right? Text analytics client, correct. So it is creating this text analytics client using the endpoint, correct. We provided this endpoint, right? Then the credential, correct. So using these values, right, it is building this particular client, correct. And here you can see the document, correct. There's a sample thing we added. Right, patient need to take 50 milligram of this one, right. So it is already hard coded here as example, correct. So you can see this, right? Already all this entity and everything is there. Now, once I run this particular program, so here you can see the output, correct? So this is a very simple example using Azure Text Analytics, correct? How we can build that particular application, right? It's a small example. Similarly, like we have a lot of generative AI related coding is there. So the future is mostly like whoever is studying, I would suggest like I can see that two areas where still you have like a lot of values would be there. One is the UI side, user experience and UI, and the backend it would be like slowly mostly to data and analytics. Okay, so I will stop here. So any question will further take it. So how is the session? Is it helpful?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just to summarize what we learned, what is the generative AI, correct? Generative AI is the machine learning technique, which is generating document, images, video from images, text as input. Right? The main difference between the traditional machine technique and generative AI is that traditional machine learning techniques are more kind of inference system, right? Generative AI is generating the unique, and one important thing is the unique. So it would generate some picture images which won't be already available or already trained to that particular system, right? Or the input. So it is not duplicating any input and just giving us the output, correct? So it generates always a unique item, right? Second thing is that it is impacting most of the industries areas, right? Whether it is healthcare, whether it is retail, whether it is research, whether it is e-commerce, right? Whether it is banking, correct? So it is, or whether it is legal, correct? It is generally impacting most of the industry areas, right? So it has got a huge areas, right? And it is also generating the code, which is a little bit worrying thing, correct? But still there are avenues like as I mentioned, UX, or we have to write all these code, correct? So it won't replace the developer, but definitely it is going to do faster development life cycle. And we need less and less developer now using our usage of this particular tool. And then we have seen few of those applications, right? Cycle I'll set the deck, right? Where already generative AI is already built, correct? Like ChatGPT, Crayon, correct? Which is generating the images. Google Maneuver is generating the science, right? Quantitative analytics, correct? So almost all the applications are internally using this AI. And also it will do the automatic task. So anyone who is coming from the automation, right? Earlier we used to have a lot of automation and bots, correct? Now generative AI would be one more way, because earlier the bot generation is a little bit very expensive. It used to be very expensive. There are tools like UiPath. So those tools are very heavily licensed tools. Now generative AI may, help there to build a low cost effective bots. Let me put in that way, cost effective bots. So pretty much it is like impacting most of the areas, and also there are a lot of avenues where it is not, yet done, correct? And there would be also ample research facilities are available. Thank you all for attending this session and bearing with me.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rudra. A nice session. Anyone interested to work on this new topic, you can say emerging topic of this generative AI, you can directly contact with Rudra sir or with me. So there are lots of research opportunities are there, lots of projects are there. Okay, in all the fields like your image, text, speech, okay, video, music, okay, lots of works we can do. And definitely, along with Rudra sir, others will be also there to help us. Okay, thank you very much. Now I think we have a break of 20 minutes, and after that, at 4:35 again we'll meet for the culture program. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
The
you, sir.
feedback link is shared in the chat box. Everyone can fill it out.
Yes. You just Ketan, you just feel share that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Shared already.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Annapurna, any question from your side? Annapurna? Okay, thank you very much once again to all.